Hey folks, welcome to Shooting Up North. I'm your host, Lewis Carlin. We're right here on the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching for the first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter at Shooting Up North, Instagram at Alliance PW Network, and feel free to join our Facebook group, the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Again, this is Shooting Up North. I am your host, Lewis Carlin. So let's get into it. Sami Callihan talked about the design storyline, and he says we as being the fans are in for a crazy ride, and they've just touched the surface of the storyline. Fightful.com says Sami Callihan is excited to see the design story playing out. Throughout his many years with the company, Sami Callihan has done nearly everything there is to do with Impact Wrestling, alongside having a reign as Impact World Champion. Callihan has also had big time feuds with Eddie Edwards, Josh Alexander. Did he have a feud with Josh Alexander? I don't think so. Unless I know they had a feud in Destiny Wrestling. I don't think they feuded in Impact Wrestling yet. Unless I'm just forgetting it. I'll have to look at that after. I don't think they've had a big time feud yet in Impact Wrestling. But Rich Swann and Moose. Says currently Callihan is in the midst of a storyline with the design. Callihan recently joined the group, which also featured Dina, Khan, and Angels. In a recent interview with WrestleZone, Callihan hyped up the trajectory of the storyline with the design, saying that the fans are in for a wild ride. So this is what Sami Callihan had to say. He says, "I've pretty much done everything there is to do in Impact Wrestling, and I love to be able to tell different stories, different types of stories. I think right now with this story, stay tuned because you guys, us the fans, are all in for a crazy ride. We've just touched the surface of what this entire thing will be." That's exciting to hear. That's exciting. I'm very, very intrigued about that. Very, very intrigued about that. He says we're in for a crazy ride. So I'm wondering what the I kind of figured that Sami Callihan is just eventually going to decide that he doesn't want to be part of the design and is going to feud with them. But that really wouldn't be much of a wild ride. So I'm looking forward to seeing what transpires here with the design. Hopefully, it's a long, drawn out storyline. But regardless, we're in for a wild ride. And if anyone's going to give us a wild ride, who better than Sami Callihan? I mean, Sami Callihan, a tremendous talent. And I was a little skeptical about the whole Sami Callihan joining the design at first, but I've gone all in with the storyline, so I'm enjoying the storyline so far, and looks like we're in for a crazy ride. So that's something to get excited about. Um, Again, if anyone's going to give us a crazy ride, you got Sami Callihan, you got Dina, you got Big Con, you have Angels. Don't know if anyone else is going to get involved there, but we'll see. Well, maybe John Moxley will show up. Maybe Sami Callihan will get kicked out, and he'll have to look for outside help or bring John Moxley in, and we'll get Moxley in Impact Wrestling. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out, and hopefully it's not a quick storyline. Hopefully it's a few months. It's a long, drawn out storyline because I'm into it right now. I'm all into the storyline, and I hope it continues for some time. It'll probably last until I want to say it'll last. I hope it lasts past Rebellion, but it could very well end at Rebellion. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Says Dina echoed a similar message in a recent interview, saying that fun stuff is planned for the group in the weeks ahead. So let's keep our eyes on Sami Callihan, Dina, and the whole design storyline. Um, and I guess buckle up, guys. We're in for a wild ride. Wild ride. Looking forward to it. Okay, so next week debuting for Impact Wrestling, a new knockout, Steph De Lander. Steph De Lander will be arriving at Impact Wrestling on February 9th, and her opponent is Jordynne Grace. That's interesting, an interesting opponent because they did a video promo. Steph De Lander debuts next week, and you kind of figured she would go in and showcase her skills and take on a lesser opponent, but her opponent's going to be Jordynne Grace. I don't think Jordynne Grace is going to lose to Steph De Lander. I mean, Is Steph De Lander going to lose in her debut? I don't know if she signed with Impact Wrestling. I don't really know much about Steph De Lander. I've heard good things. She was formerly known as Persia Parada in NXT. She was, I believe, released, and now she's making her debut on Impact Wrestling as Steph De Lander. Again, don't know much about her, but I've heard good things. I was looking forward when they first announced that when I saw the first sort of video promo that she was coming, she was debuting for Impact Wrestling. I got excited. But when they announced that Jordynne Grace will be taking on Steph De Lander, I'm thinking Jordynne Grace is in the midst of trying to get her title back from Mickie James. She wants the winner of Mickie James and Masha Slamovich. She's not losing next week to Steph De Lander, and to have Steph De Lander lose in her debut match, I think might be a bit of a mistake as well, especially if you want her to kind of get over with the fans, and you want to maybe she's a potential new knockout where they'll sign her to a 2-3 year deal. So I don't know if it's a smart move putting her up against Jordynne Grace. It should have been Alicia Edwards or something like that, her debut match, or put her up against who else could they have put her up against? I would have had to have been Alicia Edwards, right? Or maybe I don't know who else. Or maybe bring in like a Pat will like this one. Maybe bring a Swingerella in or something and have Steph De Lander defeat a Swingerella, or just bring in some local talents, in. But I don't know. I'm not. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. You want to debut a new knockout. You want to showcase her skills. You want to showcase her in front of the fans. Having her lose, and I don't see her defeating Jordynne unless Steph De Lander just attacks Jordynne Grace before the opening bell and then it like beats her down with a chair or something, and then we have a new feud before Grace is able to challenge for the Knockouts title again. Steph De Lander against Jordynne Grace. They get locked in a feud, something like that. But I think it's a mistake putting her up against Jordynne Grace in the opening in her debut match for Impact Wrestling. But nonetheless, I'm looking forward to it. It's a new Knockouts, and we'll see how the match goes next week. Hopefully, if the match does happen and I am right and Jordynne Grace does win, I hope at least Steph De Lander gets in a lot of offense and it's not like a squash match. I mean, because they gave her a video promo. I don't think they're going to give her a video promo if they don't have some sort of maybe some sort of idea that maybe they want to bring her in and sign her to a contract. I don't know. Maybe they were impressed with the match and then they're going to bring her in anyway. I don't know, but I don't think it's a good idea putting her up against Jordynne Grace right off the bat. That's just how I feel. But let's see how it goes next week. So Steph De Lander debuts, as I said, next Thursday, February 9th, 1-on-1 against Jordynne Grace. Okay, so she'll be Jordynne Grace will be definitely be facing the winner of James versus Masha Slamovich, and so then there's no way she's losing. There's no way she's going to lose to Steph De Lander unless Steph De Lander wins and they just turn it into a triple threat match, which Impact Wrestling is famous for. But we'll see what happens on Thursday, right? We'll see what happens next Thursday. Mickie James and Bully Ray, they crossed paths again. On last Thursday, and I'm thinking this storyline has got to end with the debut of Nick Aldis, right? Or not end, but it's got to bring in this storyline has got to bring in not the debut, I should say, the return of Nick Aldis. I mean, because if it's Mickie James and Bully Ray storyline, and the end of the story is well, we're gonna get a Tommy Dreamer and Mickie James teaming up. That's a little disappointing. So this storyline has to lead to Nick Aldis returning to Impact Wrestling, right? Doesn't that make sense? Maybe we'll get Tommy Dreamer or get a little side story of the storylines. Tommy Dreamer comes in, wants a little revenge against Bully Ray. Bully Ray takes him out, and Bully Ray then continues the storyline with Mickie James because he appears that he's aligning himself with Masha Slamovich. Maybe he interferes in the Mickie James Masha Slamovich match. I don't know. Maybe Nick Aldis makes his debut at No Surrender. I keep saying debut. Makes his return. His return. I'm thinking of Steph De Lander. I said the word debut too much, so I'm thinking I got it in my head. So, but Nick Aldis making his return to Impact Wrestling. It's got to lead to that, right? Again, if it's just, hey, we're gonna get Tommy Dreamer and Mickie James teaming up, that's, like I said, that's a disappointment. That's a disappointment. Nothing against Tommy Dreamer. Big Tommy Dreamer fan. Used to watch him in Queens, New York, Elks Lodge, original ECW before it became the WWE ECW. So big fan of Tommy Dreamer, but it's got to lead to the return of Nick Aldis, this storyline. Bully Ray attacking Mickie James, about to put her through a table. Nick Aldis's music hits. He comes down, the crowd pops, and then we got Bully Ray and Nick Aldis locked in a feud, which would be a really good feud. That would be a great way to bring Nick Aldis back into the promotion. So this storyline has to be leading towards the return of Nick Aldis. It has to be. It has to be, because anything less would be a disappointment. Anything less would be a disappointment. I'm not, all due respect, I'm not really too thrilled on seeing Tommy Dreamer and Bully Ray going at it one more time, 1-on-1. Not into that, but I would be into Bully Ray against feuding with Nick Aldis. Then you can have Nick Aldis and Mickie James against Bully Ray and Masha Slamovich. You could put that together. That would be an interesting tag team match as well. So it's got to be leading. It's got to be leading to the return of Nick Aldis. It has to be, right? Am I right? You guys are watching me. Am I right? Can you comment? Can you place some comments? Let me know if I'm right on this. If it's the right call. Okay, just let me know, because I'll feel better. I'll feel better. Okay, so next week, here are the matches that are planned for next week. Impact on Access. As I was mentioning. And before we get into that, Matt Cardona. I just saw the name Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona, his disc track for Joe Hendry was so horrible. It was amazing. It was so bad, yet it was so good, so entertaining. That's another guy I hope Impact Wrestling signs to a long-term deal. Before I think if he was going to go back to WWE, I think he would have signed with them already. Hopefully they can lock him down for another 2-3 years. Lock him down for 2 to 3 years. He's not under contract with Impact Wrestling, but if they can lock him down for 2-3 years, that'd be terrific. Matt Cardona, an amazing talent. I love that diss track. At Joe Hendry. It was great stuff. It was so bad, but it was so good. So bad, it was so good. And speaking of which, next week, Joe Hendry defends the Impact Wrestling Digital Media Championship against Matt Cardona. Also, next Thursday, we will see the Good Hands against Tommy Dreamer and Mickie James. You can expect Bully Ray to get involved in that one for sure. And it's got to lead to Nick Aldis. It's got to lead to the return of Nick Aldis, right? Right? Then we have Taylor Wilde and Killer Kelly versus the Death Dolls, Rosemary, Jessica, and/or Taya Valkyrie. I'm feeling something's going to go down between Killer Kelly and Taylor Wilde. One of them's going to attack the other next week. I just got that feeling. And then Steph De Lander 1-on-1 against Jordynne Grace, which I feel is a mistake. Steph De Lander shouldn't be making her Impact Wrestling debut against the person that's going to be getting the next shot at the title, because there's no way that they're going to have Steph De Lander defeat Jordynne Grace. And those are the matches that have been announced so far for next week. Impact on Access TV. And that's it. So any news breaks, of course I'll be back. Hopefully I'll be back once or twice before the night's up. And until I'm back, thank you very much. Take care. Hit that subscribe button. Bye-bye, and stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye-bye.